Continuing with Exodus chapter 4. Moses went and returned to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, "Please let me go and return to my brothers who are in Egypt and see whether they are still alive." Well, the thing is that back in chapter 2, the father of the girls was said to be Reuel. But here we have Jethro. Did we talk about this last time? I don't remember. But the problem here is that it's a father-in-law here, there it's father. So that word father might not be direct parentage. It might be like grandfather, like older male relative, could be the term. Or you might have two names or something else. We don't know, but there is a textual oddity here. Just pointing that out. Reuel, now Jethro. Okay, so there's that. He says, "Hey, please let me go and see whether they're alive." And Jethro says to Moses, "Go in peace." Yahweh said to Moses in Midian, "Go, return to Egypt, for all the men who sought your life are dead." Okay, and the New Testament authors definitely know about this. Like here we have Joseph in Egypt, right? This is the other Joseph, right? This is New Testament Joseph, right? In Matthew 2. And for those who sought the young child's life are dead, but now we're returning from Egypt to Israel. So like we're inverting stuff, right? Like playing with this, the authors know what they're doing. Absolutely. Okay, so playing off of this text and all of that stuff. Okay, so here he's returning to Egypt. Jesus, though, is leaving Egypt and returning to Israel, but that's a whole other thing. Okay, so we're not talking about Jesus right now. This is what we're doing right now with this. Okay, so Moses took his wife and his sons. Will be introduced to the other son in chapter 18 when it makes sense thematically. Right now, he has the son. We just haven't mentioned him yet. We only have his firstborn Gershom mentioned because it makes sense thematically, and we're wrapping stuff together, so it's weird. Like where to get the second son? Well, he got it, but we're not going to introduce him until it makes sense in the plot for that to happen. So we're not doing that right now. Okay. And set them on a donkey, and he returned to the land of Egypt. Moses took God's rod in his hand. And I really think that this is probably why we have so many pictures with Mary riding on the donkey and then Joseph with his staff walking along. I think that we're just pulling from all of these images that the New Testament authors are pulling from when we then make art. That's just a feeling I have. I don't know. Maybe that's not a thing. Okay, but here we go. Yahweh said to Moses, "When you go back into Egypt, see that you do before Pharaoh all the wonders which I have put in your hand, but I will harden his heart, and he will not let the people go. You shall tell Pharaoh, Yahweh says, Israel is my son, my firstborn, and I have said to you, let my son go that he may serve me. And you have refused to let him go. Behold, I will kill your firstborn son." Okay, so this idea of hardening, right, is to like strengthen resolve, right? So we already know that he's going to resist, right? Like God already said this back in chapter 3, right? "I know that the king of Egypt won't give you permission to go, not by a mighty hand." And we talked about that last time. "I will reach out my hand and strike Egypt with all my wonders, which I will do among them. And after that, he will let you go." So God's already been like, yeah, no, I know he's not going to let you go. And so this is like reiterating that again. Like we're reiterating this point that he's not going to just go for this. Okay. Like we got to do some hard work before this is going to be a thing that actually happens. Okay. And then he sets up this idea of Israel being my firstborn, which this image is going to be all over the place and is going to then get pulled into the New Testament and all of that stuff too. But the idea of Israel being God's firstborn, the most important, right? And he's like, and because you're not doing what I tell you, then your firstborn is going to be forfeit. So telegraphing what's going to happen with the plagues and the last plague and all this stuff. Okay. But also interesting that he's going to do all the wonders before Pharaoh, because these were wonders that he was given to show the Israelites, to show them that God had actually sent him and all that stuff, right? So, but he's also going to do this for Pharaoh. And we don't actually have an account of this happening, but we assume that this happened because God told him to do it. But like this whole thing is out of time chronologically. Like we'll get into that more in a moment, but like we're just setting up firstborn sons right now, which I think is going to make sense, hopefully, in a moment. But we're setting up this killing firstborn sons thing because you're not letting my firstborn son go. Okay. All right. On the way at a lodging place, Yahweh met Moses and wanted to kill him. Then Zipporah took a flint and cut off the foreskin of her son and cast it at his feet and said, "Surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me." So he let him alone. Then she said, "You are a bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision." What? Okay, like this is some bonkers text, okay? And so bonkers that commentaries are all over the map on this one. Like, people are all over the place, but they all agree this is confusing. We don't really know what to do with it. It's kind of a mess. And it's so unclear that people come to like opposite conclusions about what this text is all about and what's going on. Like they literally say the opposite things about what this means. So we don't know. Okay, but we'll run through a couple of things. Okay, so first off, of course, right, we've got this is circumcision, okay? And of course, we have back in Genesis 17, the uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. This is a big deal. So you got to at least take care of the covenantal thing. And somehow Moses had not done this. But he's going to be the representative of God leading his people into the promised land, doing all the things, and he hasn't circumcised his own son. All right? So like what's going on with that? He needs to deal with this. Okay? So that's a piece of this. Okay? Also, there's this whole thing of like, suddenly just God is there going to kill him. Like, what? But like, we already have a schema kind of for this, right? Like back in Genesis 32, Jacob is just alone. And then suddenly there's a guy wrestling with him. And then we find out later that this is God because, he's like, wait, okay. And then he's like, oh, wait, whoa, I actually have seen God's face to face and my life is preserved. So like, there's like God physically as a person shows up as a man, setting up Jesus thematically. Okay. But like just God's there and he's going to kill him, like wrestling, like, so there is a tie back kind of. Okay. And it's also possible that when Zipporah says you are a bridegroom of blood, that she doesn't like circumcision, right? Like she's grossed out by this. She thinks it's disgusting and it shouldn't be done. And she's very mad about this whole thing. And that's where some commentators go and they say, oh, so she didn't want to circumcise her son. And so Moses had said, okay, we'll do what you want, which could tie back to Genesis 3 with, Adam eating the fruit because his wife told him to or something. And he didn't listen to God. He listened to his wife. That's possible. Okay. But there's also the possibility, like she knows what she's doing. She performs this priestly ritual to circumcise her son. She knows what's up. So like, is she really the one who's like, oh, I hate this. I don't even know what this is. Like what's going on? Because it is entirely likely that she is part of this group of Yahweh worshipers out on the other far side of the desert that Moses just happens to get to and all that. So she could also actually be the one who's like, no, Moses, you weren't willing to do this. So I'll have to take it on myself and make this thing happen and save it. Okay. What we did not talk about in my class, because my students are young, is that what she does is she cuts off the foreskin, right? So here we are cutting off the foreskin of the penis, right? And then it says, and cast it at his feet or touched his feet with it. The scholars that I would agree with are saying that feet here is a euphemism. She's not just touching his feet. She's touching further up, okay? It's a euphemism for Moses's genitals, okay? And why would that be going on? Well, it's possible that Moses wasn't circumcised or wasn't circumcised the Hebrew way. He was only circumcised the Egyptian way. Apparently there was a difference. Okay, so maybe it's that Moses himself wasn't circumcised and he, because he's very reluctant to do anything, wasn't going to be like, yeah, let's do this. Okay? And so this is a way of like doing sympathetic magic to like pass the one to the other. That's possible. But like, that's only like we're grasping at straws right now. Like we do not know what's going on, but for whatever reason, here's God. He's like, I'm going to kill you because you're not doing what I want. He clearly had not circumcised his son. So we at least have that. Also with this, it's on the way to the lodging place. Yahweh met Moses, except that's not what the text says. That's what our rendering says, because we're assuming this is Moses, which would make sense, except that it just says on the way to the lodging place, Yahweh met him and wanted to kill him. Then Zipporah took a flint and cut off the foreskin of her son and cast it at his feet and said, surely you're bright. Okay, so it makes sense that, like, oh, that's Moses. Okay, like, so possibly. But we have this tie-in to Firstborns right above this. So it could be that actually God's on his way to kill the firstborn who wasn't circumcised. Like, there's possibilities here that are all over the map, and it's just unclear. I think it makes sense that it could be his son because of the thematic thing here, okay? That here we go, we're talking about firstborns and killing firstborns and all the things that need to be done with firstborns, and so we're just kind of lumping all of this together here. Because, look at this. If we just roll back for a second, okay? If we roll back, and before 18, right? We have this thing where Moses is like, please, just send anybody else. Just please send anybody else. And Moses is like, okay, fine, I'll let Aaron speak for you. Okay, he's already there. Okay, he will be your spokesperson, and it will happen that he will be to you a mouth, and you will be to him as God. You shall take this rod in your hand, with which you shall do signs. And let's just keep reading. 27. Yahweh said to Aaron, go into the wild wilderness and meet Moses. He went and met him on God's mountain and kissed him. Moses told Aaron all Yahweh's words which he had sent him, and all the signs with which he had instructed him. Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel. Aaron spoke all the words which Yahweh had spoken to Moses and did the signs in the sight of the people. The people believed, and when they heard that Yahweh had visited the children of Israel and that he had seen their affliction, then they bowed down their heads and worshipped. Awesome. Everything that Moses was concerned about, like, what if they don't listen? What if they don't believe me? What if they think, what is going? Nope, they just go for it. And notice how smoothly the text goes if we just jump to verse 27. Like, clearly this section about firstborns and Moses going to Midian and talking to Jethro and then going back, like, and then going on the way, like, all of that has gotten put in chronologically out of order. Everything is a mess right now. And why? I think it makes a lot of sense that it could be because of the firstborn thing and setting up that whole confrontation before we get to the actual confrontation here. It's possible. I don't know. Okay, here we go. Exodus chapter 5. Afterward, Moses and Aaron came and said to Pharaoh, this is what Yahweh, the God of Israel, says. Let my people go that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness. Pharaoh said, who is Yahweh, that I should listen to his voice and let Israel go? I don't know Yahweh, and moreover, I will not let Israel go. Very, very predictable. Okay, so this text, though, is not that Pharaoh's like, never heard of Yahweh. It's more, I know that you guys worship Yahweh, but like, I don't care. Who's that? Who is he to me? I am the representative of the deity. I'm the one who's in charge. So, like, I'm not listening to whatever you're talking about. Who cares, right? And if we go back, okay, yeah, let my people go and take and hold a feast in the wilderness. Okay, and who is Yahweh? Well, that actually ties back to 3:11. Sorry, we're gonna go back up here. Okay, where Moses says to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh?" Okay, so like there's actually a text thing, and then we're getting to this too. Okay, because then they say, the God of the Hebrews has met with us. Please let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to Yahweh our God, lest he fall on us with pestilence or with the sword. So again, also right here, okay, who's God? Okay, and also, when you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain. So this whole mountain text thing is part of this whole thing, okay? But growing up as a kid, I always was like, oh, so he's just asking for 3 days off? Like, is it this 3 days? Well, actually, the 3 days journey is not a time, like how long we're going to be gone. Like, just give us a weekend, a long weekend. Okay, no, it's we're going to be traveling for 3 days. It's going to take us 3 days to get there. That it's a distance measurement, like how long it's going to take. Like, oh, we'll be there in about an hour, right? Or we're an hour out, right? No, we're 3 days out from this thing that we're going to do and where we're going to do it. We're not coming back. Okay, there's no indication here of, hey, and you can expect us back, on Monday or whatever, right? Like it's just, we're leaving, and we're taking 3 days to get to this mountain, okay? Which God has already said we're going to do. The king of Egypt said to them, why do you, Moses and Aaron, take the people from their work? Get back to your burdens. Okay. Pharaoh, predictably, nope. Okay, which we know. We knew this. This was going to happen. This is very, very consistent. Pharaoh said, behold, the people of the land are now many, and you make them rest from their burdens. The same day, Pharaoh commanded the taskmasters of the people and their officers, saying, you shall no longer give the people straw to make brick as before. Let them go and gather straw themselves. You shall require of them the number of bricks which they made before. You shall not diminish anything of it, for they are idle. Therefore they cry, saying, let us go and sacrifice to our God. Let heavier work be laid on the men, that they may labor in it. Don't let them pay any attention to lying words. Pharaoh's like, oh, they think they should get a break? They think that they should leave? No, we're just going to make their lives much, much worse so they don't even have energy to think about leaving. Okay? We're just gonna make it hard. So bricks without straw. You need the straw to hold everything together. And if you're providing that, well, then you just have the incredibly hard work of mixing clay and all that, and just tremendously difficult work. Now you have to do more. So if you've ever had, just too much work to do, and then somebody's like, hey, and by the way, you have to do all this work too. This is very, very bad. Okay. It's very bad. The taskmasters of the people went out with their officers, and they spoke to the people, saying, this is what Pharaoh says. I will not give you straw. Go yourselves, get straw where you can find it, for nothing of your work shall be diminished. Okay, so the people were scattered abroad throughout all the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw. The taskmasters were urgent, saying, fulfill your work quota daily as when there was straw. The officers of the children of Israel, whom Pharaoh's taskmasters had set over them, were beaten and were asked, why haven't you fulfilled your quota both yesterday and today in making bricks as before? Get back to work, okay? Work harder, get more stuff. Why are you not doing it? Okay, we actually have historical records of the quotas that people were supposed to have for brick making, and apparently no one ever met the quota. Okay, no one ever met these quotas. So apparently this isn't outside of the realm of hey, this is how Egypt operated. Make more bricks, more bricks, more. Okay, all that. Stop bricks. Okay. Then the officers of the children of Israel came and cried to Pharaoh, saying, why do you deal this way with your servants? No straw is given to your servants, and they tell us, make brick. And behold, your servants are beaten. But the fault is your own people. This word fault is actually sin, the mistake, the missing the mark. It's not us who can't make bricks. It's that you guys are trying to get us to do too much and we can't do it. But Pharaoh said, you are idle. You're lazy. You are idle. Therefore, you say, let us go and sacrifice to Yahweh. Go therefore now and work, for no straw shall be given to you, yet you shall deliver the same number of bricks. The officers of the children of Israel saw that they were in trouble when it was said, you shall not diminish anything from your daily quota of bricks. Yeah. I can't imagine being in a situation where this unjust ruling comes down and I know that I'm going to get beaten for it. That, talk about horrible, right? Just terrible. They met Moses and Aaron, who stood along the way as they came out from Pharaoh. They said to them, may Yahweh look at you and judge, because you have made us a stench to be abhorred in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of his servants, to put a sword in their hand to kill us. This word, by the way, this make us a stench, that actually ties back to Dinah in the Old Testament. If you want to go look that up and that whole situation. So we're repeating some key ideas and fun things like that. Okay, but we're not doing that right now. Okay, Moses returned to Yahweh and said, Lord, why have you brought trouble on this people? Why is it that you have sent me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has brought trouble on this people. You have not rescued your people at all. I mean, that's how I feel sometimes with my prayers. I'm like, God, I'm praying, and what are you doing? What are you doing over here? What's, Owe me of little faith. Yahweh said to Moses, now you shall see what I will do to Pharaoh. For by a strong hand he shall let them go, and by a strong hand he shall drive them out of his land. There's actually a fun thing with the text here, with this double strong hand. It could be and this rendering is different from the NIV, but it could be that the text is God is going to use his strong hand to push Pharaoh to let them go, and then Pharaoh is going to strongly push the people out. Right? That strong hand shall drive them out of his land. So it might be that the strong hand, depending on your text, it might be hard to see it or read it, but the idea is that nope, Pharaoh is not just going to let you go, he's going to push you out. It's not just like, okay, fine, I'll let you go. It's get out of here. Okay, that's what's going to happen. Right? Which again, we had this. Okay, we've already read this, but I know the king won't give you permission to go. No, not by a mighty hand. I will reach out my hand and strike Egypt, right? So we already have this. God's already told us this. Now he's telling us again. Okay. God spoke to Moses and said to him, I am Yahweh. I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob as God Almighty, but by my name Yahweh, I was not known to them. All right. So there's some interesting things because clearly he did use the word Yahweh with them. Like we have this. This is in the text. You go back to Genesis. Like they know the name of the Lord. Now it is true that he used El Shaddai, which we translate as God Almighty. But it's not like they're like Yahweh. We've never heard of this, which we talked about when we were talking about how what name shall I say? Well, go and tell them the I am has told you has sent you. Okay, so this is not about how they're like, well, I just never even told them this name. Okay. It's the idea that the I am, the one who's going to bring this thing about, the one who's going to do stuff. They didn't see that yet. They knew that God was almighty. They knew that God could do this. They knew that things were coming, but they didn't get to see it happen. Okay. And this is actually a theme that gets picked up in the New Testament as well, with the whole idea of hey, God promised rest. We still haven't even entered into it. So what's going on, right? Okay, so here is this idea of not, they don't know his name because they haven't experienced it. It's the experiential knowing. Okay, and this know, again, as we talked about before, is the same one as being intimate with your spouse. Okay, it's an intimate, physical, experiential knowing. I have also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their travels, in which they lived as aliens. So God's like, yeah, look, this covenant thing, I'm serious about. Moreover, I have heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. Therefore, tell the children of Israel, I am Yahweh, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great judgments. He's not saying, hey, by the way, just in case you forgot, I'm Yahweh. No, it's I'm going to do the thing that I said I was going to do. I'm going to keep my covenants, and now you are going to get to experience it. You're going to experience what has been promised to your ancestors, the ones who were promised the land when they were aliens in it, when they were sojourners. Okay? You're actually going to get to live there. Okay? I will take you to myself for a people, and I will be your God, and you shall know that I am Yahweh your God, who brings you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will bring you into the land which I swore to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, and I will give it to you for a heritage. I am Yahweh. I am. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's pretty powerful. Moses spoke so to the children of Israel, but they didn't listen to Moses for anguish of spirit and for cruel bondage. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Hey, God's going to save you. Awesome. Hey, Pharaoh, let him go. God says so. No, make it worse. I mean, I can see how people would be like, yeah, thanks. Stop helping, please. Yahweh spoke to Moses saying, go in, speak to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and that he let the children of Israel go out of his land. Moses spoke before Yahweh, saying, behold, the children of Israel hasn't listened to me. How then shall Pharaoh listen to me when I have uncircumcised lips? Okay, and so this idea well, your own people aren't listening now. They did listen, but now they're not. So why would Pharaoh didn't listen at all? Why would we do anything? And also this idea of uncircumcised lips, or heavy lips, or this phrase shows up elsewhere as well. But we have this theme of circumcision or being uncircumcised again showing up. We had it earlier. Now we have it here. It's just really interesting. There is so much more to go, but we're going to stop there for now and pick up next time.